I'm excited about this one. Let's just watch it first. This is Will Williams. Okay, I'm just going to use the word yuck in all the good ways. This jump is absolutely ridiculous. And let's point out some of the things that are happening here, the things that are working in his favor. From a technical perspective, I love to see this because there's no denying the fact that he just put his head above the rim. There's no denying the fact that he jumps extremely high. But the cool part is that he's using a ton of these technical elements that I talk about all the time. And it's really nice to see them at play here. So let's take a look at this approach. First is going to be the fact that we're creating speed here. Will is creating speed. There is forward line of action. We're sprinting toward takeoff. And this is very similar to the way I used to jump, still jump, but jumped when I jumped very well, is get moving quick, create some additional acceleration through this stride, through this penultimate. Now, this is a really good example of, I talk about the penultimate stride and obviously pushing through the penultimate. And to the untrained eye or to the undertrained eye, this may look like he's not pushing simply because he's not splitting the legs extremely wide open. Now, this is not imperative when it comes to a penultimate stride. I'm not looking for the legs themselves to be open on these angles. This leg is bent, but what you can see here is Will is actively pushing through that foot and creating or covering horizontal real estate. That's the key here, is that the acceleration is continued through this stride, through that toe off. And this is the thing that I'm very excited to share, is this position right here with that tall torso. Arms are back and loaded. Head is neutral. Eyes are up. We're not cranking the head back. The body isn't diving extremely far forward. What happens here on plant? So again, I'm always going to outline these points of performance. This is our plant foot. And the cool part here is that his body weight is behind the plant, which means that our line of action is into the hip. So we're going to utilize a lot of those large movers to generate power here. As he continues through that plant, he starts to amortize this jump. We're kind of eccentrically absorbing this horizontal speed into that plant foot. He's sitting down, but the cool part again is, look, everything's still nice and firm and upright through his torso. As he loads and that body catches up, we hit this really nice position as that block foot comes in contact. We hit this nice stacked position through shoulder, hip, and ankle at the same time that our block foot makes contact. Now, something really important to note here is that Will is an extremely powerful, extremely resilient athlete. You're going to notice that he's turned his foot in a great degree, his block foot, where his plant foot remains fairly parallel to our lines of our key here. Now, I would never usually recommend this, especially for a new jumper, having one foot parallel or forward and then the other foot cranked in, because it's going to put a lot of tension into that left hip over there. But the resiliency obviously built through this gentleman over many, many years of training, through some obviously genetic and natural factors as well, is playing to his advantage. So that block hits, doesn't just hit, it punches, it comes through, and it's put down with purpose and quickly. And as soon as that block hits, let's take a look at what happens and where his arms are. Really good position here, nice and parallel to the floor. So we know that arm drive is initiated and timed well. The hips are extending at that point, and he is off the ground extremely fast. I mean, all we have to do here is watch that to see the fact that we're optimizing. Now, some of the reasons, aside from just physiological reasons, that he is able to get off from a positional standpoint off the ground quickly, is that his torso, his body, is in an upright position when it makes contact with the plant and block, which means that he does not have to spend time recovering the torso in order to leave the floor. So if we hit this plant foot, so let's go back a little bit here. If we hit this plant, so this foot here, and the torso, oh, that's not the right one. Let's go here. If you hit the plant and the torso is a little bit further forward, he will require a longer time on the ground in order to get his torso more vertical to be to allow his body to actually leave the floor, because we can't leave the floor with our torso flexed. We have to open up and extend through the hip, and that extension requires time, and that time increases ground contact. And by spending more time on the ground, we just bleed power, we lose potential energy. So positionally, he's doing a lot of really great things here in order to optimize that ground contact. He is obviously very explosive, but more importantly, utilizing speed to his advantage. Let's take a look at this again. Good, and we'll revel in the fact that he's finishing that dunk NBA Jam style, arms bent, looking down in the rim. Absolutely phenomenal. So from a technical perspective, as a technique coach, I love seeing something like this. This is kind of the concept of, being a basketball player, dunker, volleyball player, but having those track tendons, so that the massive amount of sprinting and bounding he's done over the years have really created some exceptional resiliency through his limbs, through his tendons and joint structures, so that he is able to just hammer this approach, go extremely fast, big push, and then punch with that block, and he's leaving the floor quickly, controlled, and obviously the rest speaks for itself. So I hope you enjoyed that nice quick little breakdown. I absolutely love seeing stuff like this. When position meets power and speed, wonderful things can happen.